Have you ever noticed how silence can sometimes be louder than words, especially with an avoidant? You expect their silence to mean disinterest, rejection, indifference. You think that when they go quiet, they've erased you, forgotten you, moved on. But when an avoidant truly can't stop loving you, silence doesn't mean absence. It means presence. And it's one of the most paradoxical, confusing, yet powerful signs of their attachment to you. Let's get this clear. Avoidants are wired to retreat when love feels overwhelming. It's their survival system. Intimacy activates alarm bells in their nervous system, and withdrawal becomes their escape route. But when they genuinely love you, that withdrawal is no longer clean. They can't detach as easily as they used to. Their silence stops being about you and becomes about them, because you live in their head even when they're trying to run from you. Think about that. Silence in this context isn't rejection. It's obsession. It's the quiet echo of someone who cannot erase you no matter how much they try. They may not text you. They may not call you. They may not say a single word. But every ounce of that silence is charged with your presence. You exist in the background of their every decision. You haunt their moments of solitude. You show up in their dreams, in their doubts, in their frustrations. They may say nothing, but that nothing is saturated with you. Here's the shocking part. Most people don't realize for an avoidant, silence is actually communication. It's the way they wrestle with themselves. Every time they hold back from reaching out, every time they suppress the urge to check on you, every time they swallow the words they want to say, those moments are not about disinterest. They are evidence of an internal war. They are loving you in silence because they don't know how to love you openly. You see, human beings reveal their priorities not only in what they pursue, but also in what they can't stop resisting. If someone doesn't matter to you, you don't fight yourself over them. You don't constantly battle the urge to reach out. But when you matter to an avoidant, their silence becomes full of tension, because inside that silence is the voice screaming your name. And this is where psychology gets interesting. We tend to interpret absence as rejection because our brains are wired for reciprocity. If I love you, I expect you to show love back. If I give you attention, I expect you to give attention back. That's the logic of secure attachment. But avoidance doesn't follow this logic. Avoidance equate love with danger, closeness with suffocation. So their silence isn't rejection. It's their misguided way of preserving love by controlling their own fear. Ironically, the more they love, the more silent they often become. This is why you can't take an avoidance withdrawal at face value. Silence from someone who doesn't love you feels empty, hollow, and final. Silence from someone who does love you is heavy, restless, and alive. It's filled with little cracks. The random check on your social media, the mutual friends they still ask about you through, the late night message they draft but never send. Their silence is their presence disguised. Now here's the philosophical depth to all this silence. When it's full of presence is proof of connection that transcends words. Words can be faked. Gestures can be performed. But the inability to escape someone in silence, that's real. That's when you know love has gone deeper than defense mechanisms. Because the avoidant may deny you in action, but they cannot deny you in consciousness. You live in them. And that is the strongest sign they can't stop loving you. So the next time you're faced with silence from an avoidant, don't rush to interpret it as abandonment. Step back and recognize what's really happening. That silence may very well be the most honest confession they've ever given you. It's not polished, it's not romantic, it's not even healthy, but it is real. Their quiet absence is proof of your presence in their inner world. And here's the key takeaway: don't chase their silence. Don't try to force them to speak it out loud. The more you pressure, the more they retreat. The power lies in your ability to recognize that silence is presence, and then stand strong in your own. Because when you match their silence with your grounded self-worth, you flip the dynamic. You stop seeing their retreat as rejection and start seeing it as proof of impact. Let this sink in. When an avoidant can't stop loving you, they can't erase you even in silence. Their quiet becomes the loudest declaration of all you are still there, inside them, unshakable, unforgettable. And the question you need to ask yourself is this: if their silence is filled with your presence, what is your silence filled with? Because your response to their silence will determine whether the cycle continues or whether you finally take the power back. When you love an avoidant, one of the strongest signs they can't stop loving you is not in what they show you. It's in what they're fighting inside themselves. Avoidants are architects of walls. They don't just build boundaries, they construct fortresses. They tell themselves rules like don't get too close. Don't depend on anyone. Never be vulnerable. These aren't casual habits. These are survival strategies that were wired into them from childhood, forged in experiences where closeness felt unsafe, where love felt conditional, where intimacy was tied to pain or rejection. So when love enters the picture, real love, the kind that touches them at their core, something extraordinary happens. They find themselves at war, not with you, but with their own defenses. And if you've ever witnessed this, you know exactly how messy, contradictory, and confusing it looks. One day they're pulling you close, opening up, showing you glimpses of the softness they usually hide. The next day, They're gone, distant, shutting down, pretending they don't need you. It feels personal, but it's not. What you're watching is a person who can't stop loving you, fighting a lifetime of programming that tells them love is dangerous. Here's what most people misunderstand. Avoidance is not the absence of feeling, it's the overflow of it. They feel too much. That's why they pull back. If they felt nothing, there would be no need for walls at all. Think about it. Nobody builds a fortress around an empty field. Fortresses are built to protect something valuable. The stronger the walls, the more treasure lies inside. And when an avoidant is fighting their own walls, it means the treasure, the love they feel for you, is too powerful to be contained. You'll see this fight in the contradictions. They'll say, I don't need anyone, but their actions betray them when they circle back into your life. They'll try to convince themselves they're fine without you, but late at night they're replaying your conversations, reliving your presence. They'll avoid your messages for days, then suddenly break and reach out almost against their will. That's not indifference. That's a civil war between love and fear. Now let's go deeper, because this isn't just psychology, it's philosophy. Walls represent control. To an avoidant, love represents loss of control. Love is unpredictable. Love makes demands. Love requires surrender. And for someone who has built their identity on self-sufficiency, surrender feels like death. So when they love you, they are torn. Their head says, protect yourself. Their heart says, let them in. Every moment of silence, every push and pull, every mixed signal is proof that they are caught in this battle. And the truth is, the very existence of that battle proves you matter. Why? Because we don't fight for what doesn't matter. If you were irrelevant, there would be no walls to defend. If you didn't matter, they would simply let you go. But when they fight themselves, when they break their own patterns, when they let cracks appear in the walls they swore they'd never take down, that's when you know love has penetrated deeper than fear. The mistake so many people make is assuming that the walls mean rejection. But rejection is clean, simple, final. What you're seeing here isn't rejection, it's resistance. Resistance is messy. Resistance is proof of pressure. Resistance is the sign that something is breaking through. And every time they wrestle with themselves, every time they lose control and let you in a little more, you are witnessing the walls crumble piece by piece. Now here's the empowering part for you. You cannot tear their walls down for them. That's their fight. If you try to break through by force, they'll only build stronger barriers. Your power is in understanding the meaning behind the fight. Recognize that their contradictions are not proof of indifference, but proof of depth. And when you stop personalizing their retreat, when you stop seeing their silence or withdrawal as a verdict on your worth, you reclaim your own strength. Think of it this way. If someone is battling themselves because of the love they feel for you, it means you have already entered their inner world. You've already bypassed the defenses no one else could. And whether they admit it or not, their actions betray the truth. You've reached the part of them they swore no one would ever reach. So the next time you see an avoidant pull back, don't ask, why are they rejecting me? Ask instead, what part of themselves are they fighting right now? That shift in perspective changes everything. It keeps you from chasing. It keeps you from shrinking. And it reminds you of the truth. The strongest sign they can't stop loving you is not that they're free from walls. It's that they're finally fighting against them. One of the strongest indicators that an avoidant can't stop loving you is the shift that happens when their fear, the very thing that drives them to run, slowly transforms into curiosity. Fear is the reflex. It's automatic. It's primal. It tells them, don't go there, don't get too close, you'll lose yourself, you'll get hurt. But love has a strange way of reversing the chemistry. When they can't stop loving you, fear doesn't disappear. It evolves. It becomes curiosity. Instead of running endlessly, they start circling back. Instead of hiding in avoidance, they begin watching, wondering, and questioning. They want to know what's happening in your world, what you're thinking, whether you've moved on. This is subtle, but it's critical. Fear pushes them away. Curiosity pulls them back in. And when you see that shift, you're witnessing a powerful truth love has overridden their defense system. Now, let's go deeper into this. Fear and curiosity are actually two sides of the same coin. Fear says, stay away. Curiosity says, go closer. Both arise from uncertainty. Both live in the unknown. What changes is how the unknown feels. In the beginning, to an avoidant, the unknown of intimacy feels like danger. They imagine loss, rejection, or suffocation. But when love refuses to be erased, when they can't get you out of their system, the unknown becomes unbearable in a different way. They can't stand not knowing. They can't tolerate being in the dark about you. Their mind, which once used fear to justify distance, begins using curiosity to justify approach. And curiosity is powerful because it's sneaky. They may not reach out directly, but they'll check your social media. They'll ask friends about you. They'll scroll through old conversations just to feel you again. They may even test the waters with a casual message, not because they've suddenly become secure, but because their curiosity has become stronger than their fear. Think about this for a moment. Human beings are driven by two forces, the desire to avoid pain, the desire to pursue pleasure. Avoidants lean heavily on the first. They avoid intimacy because they associate closeness with pain. But love destabilizes that equation. It creates a new kind of pain, the pain of not knowing, the pain of missing you, the pain of wondering what you're doing without them. And suddenly, the very defense that used to protect them begins to betray them. Fear no longer keeps them safe. Fear now makes them restless. And curiosity becomes the bridge back towards you. This is why their behavior seems contradictory. One moment they're gone, convinced they're protecting themselves. The next, they're hovering, circling, dipping their toe back in. It's not inconsistency, it's evolution. They're moving from pure fear to the kind of curiosity that signals they can't let you go. And here's the philosophical depth. Curiosity is the seed of transformation. Fear shuts doors. Curiosity cracks them open. When an avoidance starts shifting into curiosity, it's the first step toward vulnerability because curiosity demands engagement. You can't stay curious and remain fully detached. Curiosity pulls you closer even against your will. It demands exploration. It demands participation. And if you stirred curiosity in an avoidant who once only felt fear, you've already changed their internal landscape. But here's the part you need to understand. Their curiosity doesn't mean they're ready. It doesn't mean they'll suddenly turn secure overnight. It means the battle has shifted in your favor. It means love is winning ground inside them. And your role is not to rush in and feed that curiosity with validation or constant reassurance. Your role is to recognize what it means. Curiosity is their silent confession. It's proof you've penetrated deeper than fear. So how do you respond? With strength, with patience, by holding your ground. Because curiosity grows when there's space. If you smother it with attention, it collapses back into fear. If you starve it, it intensifies. That's why avoidants often come back after silence. They can't endure the curiosity of not knowing. They'd rather risk exposure than live in the torment of uncertainty. And that's when you have the leverage. Not leverage to manipulate, but leverage to stand in your worth. Because once fear becomes curiosity, they are no longer avoiding you. They are orbiting you. They're searching for answers. And that's when you know love has sunk its roots too deep to be ignored. So remember, this curiosity in an avoidant is not casual. It's not harmless. It's the ultimate sign they can't stop loving you. Because curiosity is the very thing they spend their lives trying to suppress. When it takes over, it means love has broken through their strongest defenses. When an avoidant truly can't stop loving you, something happens that they'll never admit out loud. In fact, it terrifies them more than intimacy itself. You become their emotional anchor. And what does that mean? It means that no matter how far they pull back, no matter how hard they try to detach, you are the steady point they keep returning to in their inner world. Avoidants live in storms. Their inner landscape is chaotic, memories of rejection, fear of being trapped, constant reminders not to depend on anyone. Their self-image is built around control and distance. But when you touch them at a deep enough level, you disrupt that storm. You become the point of reference, the center of gravity, the silent anchor they measure everything else against. Here's what's fascinating. They'll never admit this to you directly. They may not even admit it to themselves, but it shows up in their behavior. They compare others to you. They replay your words in moments of doubt. They think about what you would say in a situation. You become the lens through which they view connection. Even in silence, even in distance, they lean on you because your presence has given them something they can't generate on their own stability. And this is where psychology exposes something profound. Avoidants avoid closeness because they associate it with danger. But the very thing they fear is the very thing they crave most: safety. They are starving for a place to rest emotionally. And when they find someone who gives them that feeling, they may run, they may resist, but they never forget. You become the emotional home they never knew they needed but cannot replace once they've experienced it. Think about that in your own life. We all have anchors. People, memories, moments that ground us when everything else feels unsteady. For most securely attached people, those anchors are healthy relationships, family, or purpose. For avoidants, the tragedy is that their anchor is often externalized into the one person who broke through their defenses. That's you. You hold the weight of being their point of reference because inside, they don't know how to anchor themselves. Now here's the philosophical depth of it. To be someone's anchor is not about being their possession. It's about being the immovable truth in a world where everything else shifts. Anchors don't chase ships. Anchors don't move with the tide. Anchors hold steady, and because of that steadiness, the ship always knows where to return. When you become an avoidance emotional anchor, you represent the possibility of safety in a life built around escape. That's why they can't stop loving you, because you become the place where their storm calms, even if only internally. But here's where it gets complicated. Being someone's anchor doesn't mean they'll openly attach. In fact, it often makes them run harder because dependence terrifies them. They don't want to need anyone. And yet, there you are, etched into their mind as the one they turn to, consciously or unconsciously. That's why they orbit you, why they reappear after silence, why they can't fully detach. They may distract themselves with others, but every comparison pulls them back to you. Because an anchor isn't about excitement or novelty, it's about grounding. And once someone has been your grounding point, nothing else feels the same. And this is where you need to flip your perspective. Don't see their silence as erasure. Don't see their distance as dismissal. See it for what it is, reliance. They may not come back to you with words, but they return to you with thought. They may not declare it out loud, but they carry you as their anchor in private. And that is more powerful than any temporary withdrawal. Now, let me challenge you. If you're someone's anchor, you have a choice. Do you hold steady in your worth, knowing they rely on you whether they admit it or not? Or do you lose yourself trying to prove it to them, chasing after what they already feel but can't articulate? The power is always in stillness. Anchors don't beg ships to stay docked. Anchors know that if the ship drifts, it will always remember where safety is. And if you've truly become an avoidance emotional anchor, they will always circle back. Because love has bonded them to you in a way they can't escape. So don't underestimate your role. Don't diminish your presence. Recognize it for what it is. Proof that you've given someone who fears love the one thing they can't create on their own. A sense of emotional stability. That's the strongest evidence they can't stop loving you. Not their words, not their actions, but the way they lean on your presence as their foundation. One of the clearest signs that an avoidant can't stop loving you is when they start breaking their own rules. And make no mistake about it. Avoidants live by rules. Not the kind written down, but unspoken commandments that run their lives, never depend on anyone. Don't get too close. Don't reveal too much. Keep control at all costs. These rules are what protect them. They've spent years, maybe decades, building them as a survival manual for love. But here's the paradox. Love doesn't respect those rules. Love dismantles them, challenges them, exposes them for what they really are, self-imposed barriers. And when an avoidant truly loves you, you'll see something extraordinary. They begin breaking their own code. They violate the very principles they swore would keep them safe. Think about it. The person who swore they'd never reach out first suddenly sends you a message at midnight. The one who claimed they don't do vulnerability suddenly confesses something raw and personal. The person who insisted they don't need anyone finds themselves showing up for you in ways that shock even them. These aren't accidents. These are breaches. And every breach is proof that love has taken them beyond the walls of their own design. Why is this significant? Because people don't break rules unless something more powerful than the rules has taken hold of them. Rules are comfortable. Rules are predictable. Rules are safe. And for avoidance, safety is everything. So when they break the rules, it means the pull of love has become stronger than the grip of fear. It means they can't stop themselves from doing what they swore they'd never do. That's not indifference. That's evidence of transformation. Here's where psychology gives us clarity. Avoidants create rigid rules because rules give the illusion of control, and control is their shield against emotional chaos. But love is chaos. Love is unpredictable, messy, and wild. When an avoidant breaks their rules, it's not because they've suddenly become reckless. It's because they've reached the limit of control. Love has forced them into surrender. And surrender is the one thing they've always resisted. Now let's take it deeper into the philosophical truth behind this. Human beings reveal their deepest commitments not in the rules they follow, but in the rules they break. We all have lines we swear we'll never cross. And yet when love arrives, those lines begin to blur. That's how you know it's real. When an avoidant bends their patterns, when they betray their own code, they're showing you that you've reached a place no one else could. You've touched the non-negotiables. You've gone beyond the boundaries they built for survival. That's not casual, that's profound. And here's the thing, this doesn't look neat. It doesn't look like a Hollywood love story. It looks inconsistent, confusing, and even frustrating. One moment they're holding back, the next moment they're breaking their own rule by confessing, I miss you. One moment they're distant, the next they're vulnerable in a way that startles you. But don't misinterpret this inconsistency as weakness or manipulation. It's not. It's the mark of someone being stretched beyond the limits of who they thought they were allowed to be. So how do you handle it? With awareness, with strength, with clarity. Don't chase them when they retreat, and don't dismiss them when they break through. Recognize the weight of what's happening. When an avoidant breaks their own rule, it's not small, it's monumental. It's their version of love letters and grand gestures. They may not say, I love you outright, but every time they go against their own patterns, they're saying it without words. And here's the empowering truth. You don't need to force it. Love is doing the work. Love is rewriting the rules they thought were permanent. You don't need to demand proof. They're giving it to you every time they bend their patterns. And the more you stay grounded in your own worth, the more those rules will continue to break, because your strength will challenge their fear more than their fear can challenge your love. Think of it like this: breaking their rules is not just about you. It's about them. It's about growth. It's about transformation. It's about life pulling them out of the prison they built for themselves. And you just happen to be the catalyst. You're the one who stirred the love powerful enough to break through. So the next time you see them act against their own code, don't overlook it. Don't downplay it. See it for what it is, a confession. Because when an avoidant breaks their rules, that's the loudest sign of all. They can't stop loving you. When you think about love, you often imagine it being loud, expressive, undeniable. But for an avoidant, the strongest sign they can't stop loving you is not in their words, not even in their grand gestures, it's in their inability to let you go. They may not chase you in the way you expect. They may not openly declare their heart. But when an avoidant remains tethered to you through time, through silence, through distance, it reveals something profound. You have broken through the very defense system they built to protect themselves from love. That is no small thing. You see, avoidants build walls not because they don't want love, but because love feels dangerous. Connection feels like vulnerability. Intimacy feels like exposure. To let someone closest to risk being hurt, abandoned, or engulfed. So they push away what they crave most. But here's the paradox. The very act of them not being able to release you is the deepest confession of love they will ever give. If they could truly let go, if you were just another person passing through their life, you would vanish from their memory like smoke. But you don't. You remain. That's not an accident, it's evidence. The inability to let you go is more than nostalgia. It's more than missing your presence. It's the mind fighting the heart, and the heart winning in ways the avoidant doesn't even admit to themselves. Think about it. Avoidants are masters at compartmentalizing. They know how to bury, how to suppress, how to distract themselves with work, achievements, or casual encounters. But when, despite all of that, you linger in their thoughts, when they circle back to you months or even years later, when they still monitor you from a distance or slip into your world in subtle ways, that's love refusing to be suffocated. There's something fascinating about this dynamic. For most people, love is proven in pursuit. For an avoidant, love is proven in persistence. Not the persistence of action, but the persistence of attachment. If they can't detach, if they can't shut down their emotions when it comes to you, if they keep finding reasons to hold on to the thread that connects them to you, then you are not just someone. They have allowed you past the gates of their fortress. And that means they love you deeply, quietly, and inescapably. But here's where the psychology becomes even more intriguing. That inability to let you go is not simply about desire, it's about transformation. Because the avoidant has learned to live in control. Controlling their environment, controlling their emotions, controlling who gets close and who stays away. Yet love is the one thing that exposes the cracks in that control. Love is the earthquake that shakes the ground beneath their fortress walls. If you remain in their heart despite their attempts to bury you, it means their love for you is stronger than their fear of intimacy, stronger than their old wounds, stronger than their excuses. That's not just affection, that's a revolution happening inside them. And here's the deeper truth. The fact that they can't let you go doesn't just reveal their love, it reveals your impact. It means you are not forgettable. You are not replaceable. You touched them in a way no one else could. You became associated with safety and significance at the same time. You became a paradox to their paradox. A person who awakened their longing but didn't destroy their freedom. Someone who mattered so much that even their avoidance strategies couldn't erase you. That's not something they can manufacture with anyone else. That's the fingerprint of true connection. So what does this mean for you? It means you have to stop measuring love only by the visible actions. Some of the strongest love exists in silence, in the stubborn inability to detach. And when you see an avoidant who can't stop orbiting you, who can't fully release your presence from their life, don't mistake it as weakness on their part. Recognize it as the purest evidence of how deeply they care, even if they will never say it the way you expect. Because love in its highest form is not about possession or performance. It's about resonance, about someone carrying you in their soul, even when they try to set you down. And if an avoidant cannot let you go, that is the strongest sign of all, that no matter what they say, no matter what mask they wear, their love for you is real, alive, and undeniable. The question you have to ask yourself now is simple. If someone's heart refuses to release you, even when their fear tells them to run, what does that say about the depth of the connection you hold? Maybe love isn't always loud. Maybe sometimes the quiet inability to let go is the loudest declaration of all.